Hi, I'm Chasidy and I'm the Testimony Blogger for SOA Sports Segment. I had the opportunity to interview Fireal, and I guess the main topic of her interview was the damages already done.
My story. I have the victory. I have overcome. I had a rough beginning. My mom died when I was 2. My dad, who knows where he was, and I was staying with my mom's sister, and her lifestyle wasn't what the rest of my family thought it should be. So by the time I got to kindergarten, they decided I had a sister too, so they decided we didn't need to stay with her. So we're at a store with her friend, and my aunt comes and she sees us at the store, and she's not pleased. I don't actually know what's going on. All I know is the police is taking me back to my mom's house. So I rode to the store with my mom's friend. I'm leaving with the police officer. You know, I'm only in kindergarten, so I really don't know what's going on. He takes off his little jacket or whatever, and he shows us he had a cardboard box. He didn't have a bulletproof vest, but he had a whole bunch of shirts in a cardboard box. And he shows us, and we end up at CPS, and it was just, you know, at the end, they end up taking us from my mom. That's who I knew was my mom, from 2 till kindergarten. So I moved with my aunt. I stayed there 3 days, and she decided she didn't want me. Even though she had destroyed my home, she took everything I knew from me, that she didn't want me. So I go and I move with my grandmother. And there I encounter my cousins. And my cousins decided, well, let's say it this way, they were being molested. So when kids are molested, they often act it out on other people. So I wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm laying on my stomach, and my cousin has my underwear down, and he's trying to penetrate me. He's a little boy, though. He doesn't know what's going on. He didn't know what was wrong, but the damage was done to me. I was torn. I was broken. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how I was going to survive. And that was the first time. Well, no, that wasn't the first time, but that was the time that I remember vividly. And I told, and that same auntie who destroyed my life at that, you know, took the only home that I knew, she decided, oh, I was lying. Their parents, oh, they're lying. His mom or whatever was saying that I was lying, and my uncle, he believed me, and he came and he disciplined them, but that still didn't help me because the damage was already done. So I go on and I grow up or whatever. You know, it came out later that they were being molested, but at that time, you know, that still doesn't help me because I'm still broken. You know, I don't have a mommy, I don't have a daddy. Everybody else has a mommy and a daddy. You know, I'm being molested, and I end up, by the time I graduated, to make a long story short, by the time I graduated high school, I had been to 12 schools. You only have 12 grades. And so sometimes I moved once, sometimes I moved twice that year. It just didn't, you know, it was whatever. And, but a lot of damage was done.
During your story, you talked about you being molested. I wanted to know how that made you feel when your family didn't believe you.
I was young, so I think it hurt more looking back, and at that time it was kind of like, I think I was shell-shocked, because on one hand, people outside of my family believed me, and then my actual family didn't, and it was hurt, but then again, I was still only 7 to 9, and it was always, we don't believe you, why would you make that up, where are you getting this from? You know, at 7, I don't know why 7-year-olds would make stuff up like that.
When did you decide to seek God?
So I decided to seek God. Now, God has been in my life the whole time. All this has happened. There's no way I would have maintained my sanity if He hadn't been. So He was there. I didn't know how to tap into His power. I didn't know about forgiveness. You know, I always thought people say you forgive and forget. And I was thought, okay, you know, it kind of don't, like, how you gonna forget? That was my whole thing. How am I supposed to forget? So for the most part, I had forgiven everybody. You know, and it was a battle all the way going through college when I first started. I remember my freshman year, I would write notes to people who had hurt me. So I was always trying to seek and find that wholeness because I knew something was wrong. And then after I got raped, it just intensified. But then by that point, I think it broke whatever little strength I had left. Because remember, I only went to college to get away from my family because I wanted to be whole. I always wanted to be whole. So, and after seeking guidance from my pastor at the time, that's when I decided to go off to school. So God was already in the midst. It was just him taking me through the challenge to say, okay, this is what we're going to help. Him basically guiding me, helping me work through it.
So
at the church in East Texas that I was attending, they told me, two of the ladies talked to me or whatever, and they were like, well, maybe you could write a letter to them. And that was one of the most beneficial things I did. I wrote letters to everybody. So, dear so-and-so, this is how it affected me. This is how they hurt me. And I was able to get a release. And then I got in my word and I was studying, okay, God, how do I forgive them? And I guess the way the world forgives, we forgive and we forget. And that's really God's perspective, because he says, I blotted out. Or I cast it as far as east is from the west. So I had to learn that, okay, very good, you got to cast your thoughts. And then I had to go further and okay, I'm not, able to just kind of block stuff out. But you end up blotting it out with his word. So, and I said that in the earlier interview or whatever. When something, like if I see somebody and they've offended me and they hurt me, it's not, the fact that they hurt me didn't disappear. But I have to blot it out in my mind. So I have to start speaking the word over myself immediately. And I guess as I walked with God and as God sent the right people in my life, he was able to get my mind, get me where I need to be so I could do that successfully. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. It's understandable. So at no point did you ever feel like God gave up on you? Because a lot of times when people go through things, they feel like, God did this to me. I'm mad at God. Like they give up on him. They say, I don't believe in God for whatever reason. So is there any point in your situation, like I know you said, God was always there, but is it one point where you feel like, well, maybe God failed me. Maybe he didn't love me enough. Like, why did he let this happen to me?
I think in dating, I remember dating and I would meet broken people, just abusive dudes, and I'm like, God, this can't be your best for me. Like, this is what you think of me. So I would look at, and broken people attract broken people, and I didn't realize that was, kind of one of my things I was doing. So in that sense, I resented God. After me graduating, that is about when I go into a homeless situation, and I resented God. Even though I could see his hand moving and him organizing things, I still resented him. You got me and my child in this shelter, and that I resented God for that. And I went to church and I was like, okay. But I remember my pastor, we were in the new membership orientation, and she's like, who's saved? And at this point, I'm angry with God. I'm just fed up. I'm like, you can't be serious. I'm doing the best I can, and this is what you do. You got me in my, this little girl, she didn't deserve this. She didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for my whole life. You took my mom, you took my daddy. I was just in a broken situation I never had a chance. I feel like I didn't have a chance. So I resented God, and it took, they gave me it's just a little pamphlet, but no more than this big. They gave it to me, and it says that our salvation wasn't dependent on how we felt. And God's love for us wasn't dependent on how we felt in our circumstances, and that helped me. But there was a time me and God we didn't see eye to eye, because I didn't understand why I was in the shelter. I didn't understand why I had to be raped in college, why I had to be molested as a child, why I didn't have mom and daddy. I just didn't understand it. And now I don't even think I understand it, but my pastor would always say, Lee, now you don't understand it. Right. And I think in trying not to understand, I found peace. In trying to just trust God, that's, but it hasn't always been easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. You look at the world today and you see, it's different. It ain't been easy. Just like, I trust God. I'm super Christian. There's, like I told you, I drunk. There was a time I drunk. Took a shot to get up. I had a bottle of vodka in my freezer in my apartment. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. And I had that vodka. I would go in there, take a shot, get up before I go to class, come home, take a shot before I went to sleep.
How serious was this vodka? What kind of vodka was it?
Girl, you gotta do me like that, girl. Let's talk.
You know, you gotta ask those type of questions. The type of vodka, that's how I know, you know,
it was
what level you was on.
It was just taco, girl. Cheap vodka. And a lot of people can't drink taco. I drink taco. Me and taco is cool.
Wow. Yeah. So, just hearing this is so inspiring because God is peace, so I'm glad that you did get that. Just tell me, when did you finally realize that God was in your situation? You know how you said you seen him orchestrating some things in your life, but you resented him. What did it for you? What was it?
What really did it? I guess after the shelter thing, we go on, we get an apartment, God work that thing out. I seen him move in there. I seen him take my little big because I was making like $5.76 every 2 weeks. My bill was way over that. Just the stuff I had to do to survive these past year and a half. God is, he's been there, but there's been times I resented him. There's been times I didn't always trust him. But I think in this past year and a half, he's matured me and left me with no option. I'm telling you, when you got a child, you only get $1,000, what's that, $1,200 a month. So they didn't leave no money for no shelter, no food, no diapers, no nothing, no gas. But God provided it. I just told you the story of him working. Just moving those meticulous little things.
Can you give us an example? We want to know. The viewers want to know.
The viewers want to know. Okay, so prior to that, the week prior to me going to work with my eyes swollen or whatever, one of my coworkers invites me to her mom's church. Now she doesn't go to her mom's church. This is how God works, okay? This lady doesn't go to the church, but it's her mom's and her stepdad's church. She invites me to say, God, I want you to go see them. I want you to go to this church. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll go. So we go over there. I meet her mom. Mom takes a liking to me. Okay. Not knowing that I was going to actually meet this lady. That's how good God is. Now, this is before all this takes place. Okay. She don't know nothing going on in my life or nothing. We was cool. We talk casually, whatever. But, so I meet mom or whatever. So the next week I come to work, my eyes swollen because of the domestic situation here. So, I can't stay in the house because I'm still, the people who I became physical with were still here. So I feel like it wasn't the same situation for me and my daughter. So where the heck we gonna go? Because like I said, I only had $1,200 to my name. It was just like, what do we do? So the lady, she worked at a shelter. And this shelter is basically a shelter where local churches, they host a family. So they just take a week out of the month, I think every 3 months, and they host a family. So they basically provide a bed. The shelter itself provides the bed, but they provide the food and clothes, whatever you need. Everything is provided at the shelter, at the church.
All the viewers might want to know is, you have a little daughter. If something like this was to happen to her, and God forbid, but if something was to happen to her, how would you suggest that she handles it? What would be your advice? Don't go crazy, because
no. I'm not gonna go crazy, but first and foremost, I'm her mother, so I handle it. Right at that point, if she's young like I was, she's not in a position to handle it. So at first, I deal with the offenders. I deal with that, but I deal with my child. I let her know that this is wrong. I explained to that you didn't deserve this. This was not your fault, and I'm open to listening to whatever she might have to say, whatever she feels. So that would be how I handle that. Okay,
so what precautions are you taking just so your daughter could be aware of, there's guys out here that this might happen, so, what do you do when she's around men? Like, what have you taught her since these things have happened to you? What's appropriate and what's not appropriate when it comes to being around a male figure?
Well, for starters, she's not around men I don't know. We don't go to the family member's house. We don't do that. You can ask anybody in my family, may ain't never been at your house. Maybe one of my aunt's house, that's it. 2 months. But we don't do the whole, I'm hanging out, we don't do that. She doesn't hardly ever go to anybody's house except for the people who were there when she was born. The people who raised me, my mom, her friend, her godmother. She doesn't do the whole, we do wow, everybody's house. No, I'm deliberate in teaching her, this is my vagina. This is my butt. You don't touch me here. Even now when I change it, man, nobody's supposed to touch you here. Let mommy know if they touch you. Your Maddie's on me too, but I'm very deliberate in that.
What advice would you have for any young women that's experiencing any brokenness that they may have, whether they be molested or just, they are insecure about some things? What advice would you have for those young girls out here that may be struggling with those issues?
Read Psalms 139. If you can't read it, get somebody to read it to you. Psalms 139 is very powerful. And I mean, it's okay to say I'm hurt. It's okay to say somebody hurt me. You might not always get the opportunity to address people directly. In my case, I didn't. It was just way more than necessary, and I felt like it was just a whole lot. So deal with your emotions. That's the most important thing. It's okay to be emotional, but you can't stay there. You have to learn to take control of your mind. You are in control. It is your life. You're not a mistake. God said, I knew you before you were in your mother's womb. Your days, your days are numbers, your hairs are numbers. I love you. God loves you. So know that God loves you, that everything that happened, God allowed to happen, but it wasn't to destroy you. It was to build character, and so that you will be able to help somebody else, and so that He could pull you closer to Him. Understand that, but I would say, if I could just say 3 things: acknowledge the hurt, deal with the hurt. Don't stay there. If you need to write letters, you need to vent it. You need to, get it out. Get it out. Don't hold it in. And then remember that you're an individual, and you don't have to let this thing rule you. And you don't have to protect yourself. Yield yourself to God. If you can get to God, get to God. And getting to God looks different for different people. Some people write to God. Some people just, cry and scream to God. Some people, they always say, don't question God. I find that hard to believe when you hear Job question God. Now, God didn't answer, where were you when I placed the moon there? It was a smart little answer, but He answered because God cares about us that much. So, it's okay to question God. It's okay to be upset with God. Don't stay there, though. Don't let Satan take you and make you hate God. You say, God, why did this happen to me? And He'll answer you. He'll give you peace. He'll take you in. He'll wrap you. He'll give you everything you need to get through it. But you do have to seek Him. So I would say acknowledge emotions. Acknowledge the fact that you are human. You're allowed to feel. So get your emotions out. Seek God. Seek counseling if you need it. In my case, counseling kind of was like, oh, duh. But I worked through it, and I talked. I talked to my friends. I talked to family. I talked to plenty of pastors. Well, not plenty of pastors, but I talked to the ladies when I was in college. I talked to my pastor in high school. I talked to a lady here, I guess in my adult, once I graduated from college, and I talked to another church member. So a lot of talking helped me just get it out. Get it out. Acknowledge that it's wrong. Know that it's wrong. Know that God sees it that wrong. There's stories in the Bible where God feels really strong, very strongly about rape. He went as far as to have the townspeople beat a man because they had raped a woman. I can't think of the exact text right now, but basically the people went in and they were looking for men, and the men said, well, just take my daughters, they're virgins. So they took them and they raped them, and they basically left them brought them back after they had done all that they wanted to do with them, missed over them and whatever. But they left them, and then basically the lady died. They found her, dead on the porch. So what God did, God turned the heart of the people, the rest of His people in the city, and He turned them against them, and they ended up dead. The offenders. But God doesn't take rape lightly. He doesn't take molestation lightly. That's not His plan. That wasn't His plan. He doesn't take incest lightly. And I had to work my way through, and finding these things. Not even finding these things. It just so happened the Bible my mom got me for Christmas was talking about just sexual impurities and stuff like that. So it kind of had scriptures just about different things with sex and getting in the Bible and just figuring out how God sees. Because a lot of it, when I hate God or I resent God, it's because I don't understand the mind of God. But if you can get in your words, you can understand the mind of God. And God hated incest. Incest was not His plan. was His plan for His people. You know, do you understand what I'm saying? So just understand that that's not God's best for you, but you don't have to stay there. He'll bring wholeness, like the woman at the well. I think the woman at the well, it never says that she was blessed. It doesn't give us much about her, but it says that she slept around, or she had many husbands, as you know, Christ called it. And well, she had many husbands. What do we do with husbands who sleep with, right? The one you with, not your husband. You know, and but Christ didn't judge her. He didn't. Well, you were slut. You were good. No. He never said that. He just said, what you're looking for, you're not gonna find it in men. It's basically what he said. And we used to. It's so funny that we start running and we used the term thirsty. I'm thirsty, or she thirsty. She thirsty. You know the thirst. You know, she thirsty. She just chased after guys. Well, just start running at the woman that was at the well getting some water, chasing after she had been chasing men. But God doesn't see you in an ugly manner. God doesn't hate you. He doesn't resent you. He loves you. He wants to take you in just like He took that woman at the well, just like He took me in, and with all my flaws and all my problems. And He wants to make us whole. Know that there is wholeness in Christ, but that's the only way you're going to be whole. Not in men, not in drugs, not in. There's nothing that can fill you like Christ. Nothing but Christ. Nothing but Christ.
Fireal said it all. She just tells you how to be virtuous. I'm so glad that you came out of that situation. I'm so glad that you brought a beautiful baby girl into the world. I can tell that she's your blessing. I can see how overprotective you are. I can see that you learned from this situation. I can see, what God manifested in your life. And I think that's just so inspiring to me and to all the young women that's watching. It's like, again, your story doesn't define you. It defines His glory, and He's living in you. He will never give up on you, and He still loves you. And I'm just so happy that Fireal I'm happy that she's here to tell her story, and I hope she inspires you like she inspired me. I'm Chasidy Celestine. This is the testimony.